Hey everybody, how are we doing? So I'll try not lure you into sleep mode when you're all on full stomachs. But my name's Toby and I am a photographer. I specialise in headshots and business portraits, and that's grown onto other opportunities, as Dan mentioned, of running a podcast now with Kaz Grant, who you may have come across on LinkedIn. She runs a personal branding agency, so together we share tips and advice on how you can be building your personal brand. But just a quick show of hands before we get started, or you can use your paddles actually, we might as well make the most of them. Who considers themselves to have a personal brand? Cool. So quite a few hands in the room, that's good. That's a good place to start. So, because a lot of people, personal brands become a bit of a buzzword that people kind of don't really know what it means, or they're being told that they should be aware of their personal brand and they should have more of a personal brand, be focusing energy into that. So my sort of direction into photography is a little bit different to a lot of people's stories. I'm actually trying to be an actor. So I left Lincoln, went to London, went to drama school, and in your third year, you get a headshot photo. So a headshot for an actor is literally your shop window. It is what is going to sell you. It's going to help you get an agent. That gets put in front of casting directors when you get put up for a role. They then decide, based on your headshot in a split second like that, looking at probably 20, 30 headshots of who they want to call in for an audition. Then if you get into the audition, you might have a first round audition. You then might get a third or a fourth if you're lucky and a final call. Then you might actually get penciled for a job. Then you'll get let down last minute with that phone call saying, no, they've just decided to go in a different direction. So I transitioned into taking actor headshot photos for my colleagues at drama school. I had a camera that I was trying to make short films with and thinking as an actor, if I can make my own work, I don't need to worry about any of that. And fell in love with the concept that in just a head and shoulders photo, you can say so much. And particularly when we're talking about from a casting point of view, what a photo needs to suggest for an actor is almost every part that they could possibly play. And the added dynamic that if a casting director is looking to cast you in a specific part, they're going to see different things in that photo. Just a quick example. Let's pick one of these. So let's go for this girl here. So if she was going up for a specific part, say, of an 18-year-old from a wealthy background, I'm just trying to make this up on the spot now, and she's really happy-go-lucky, and that's the part we're looking for. That headshot is probably something that they're going to consider, yeah, she could play that part, we believe that. It could also be that actually she's 13 and she's going to ballet school, and suddenly that headshot could still work as well, because we're really pushing the boundaries of what we can see in that photo. Yeah, she could play down her age bracket, she could play up her age bracket. And then that kind of, the different aspects that we see in a photo, when we look at male roles and the diversity that age gives us, when we look at different builds, how can we actually stylistically add textures and use lighting to really convey different messages? That now translates into my work that I do now with business individuals and personal branding point of view of going, okay, so what can we say about you and your business? That's a little rundown of how I got into this. And then that's led to other opportunities as well. So not only the podcast, I started a magazine called The Business Companion, which invites Lincolnshire businesses, currently Lincolnshire businesses, it will grow steadily, to contribute advice into a magazine format for other businesses to benefit from. And I'm now based in a studio in the Lincoln City Centre, and there's a familiar face there. It's just a few examples of the work that I currently am doing. So I'm trying to take all the visual excitement that casting photos and the dynamic sort of look that casting photos have, and try and bring that to sort of business portraits. So a little bit more editorial, and you're going to see why this plays into our personal brand in just a moment. But style evolves. So traditionally, he said he'd added something in there. Very good. Oh, it's working. Okay, good, nice. So traditionally, if I'd have said I'm a headshot photographer, this was probably the first thing you might have thought of. You might have thought of LinkedIn, white background, head and shoulders photo, quite corporate, traditional. And I still love a white background headshot. Like, it doesn't get old for me. You know, people book in for that kind of session and they think, oh, you must be really bored of just doing this. I just need a LinkedIn photo. And they sort of apologise for it. And then they go, no, actually, because for me, yeah, the setup I've done 1,000 times. It's easy for me. But what makes it different is how can I make you stand out in that format? So again, it goes back to my casting sort of experience of being an actor. Okay, so if we were actually all laid out in the same format, how can I make you different? How can I make you the person that we're going to stop and not scroll past? And then we're so visually diverse now in terms of the amount of exposure we have on Instagram and the different types of photos we see, different types of video content. We've really got to make sure we stand out. So bringing these different formats of photo in that maybe are a little bit more editorial, different textures in the background, different environments, playing with colour, lighting, shadows. And I've still included a white background headshot on the end there because for me, the personality jumps through. We're trying to give every reason for somebody to just stop and take notice of us. If you think about how big a LinkedIn photo is, when it's in the top left-hand corner of your dashboard when you first log in, and then I don't know if you can picture how big it is next to someone's name on a post on your news feed. It's even smaller. So how can we really engage people to just stop for a second? So I've tried to make this presentation a little bit more about visual representation. So I'm including more images and we're going to talk more about photos rather than personal branding on a whole. And the reason I mention the podcast is because we go through episode by episode. Season 1 is kind of a step-by-step guide to personal branding from all aspects of networking and setting up profiles and things like that that you can go back and look at. But today I want you to come away thinking, how can I look at my visuals in a different way? So let's talk about Rob for a second. So just shout out, what do we think Rob does for a living? Barber, cool. What gives that away? Sorry? Murder, yeah. So what gives away that Rob is a barber? Come on, really easy. He's got a pair of scissors, okay? What else do we notice about Rob? He's got a cool haircut himself, yeah. He's got something quite unique going on, yeah. Go on, what was that?
The green light.
The green light, yeah. We've got a bit of a green light on this side and a bit of a red orangey tint on this side. What does that make you feel or think? Or
bit of magic, bit of mystery.
Bit of mystery, yeah. Bit of 30, yeah. Cool. Anything else jumping out at you? He's got a nice watch, hasn't he? Any watch people in the room? Not that you can really see from there as to what it is. So Rob told me that is a £3,000 fake of a 25 grand watch. He still paid £3,000. So he's trying to create an image there. What else do we notice about what he's wearing? Can anyone else see another detail in there? Got a badge in there. What's the badge? Stone Island, which is I'm not that fashionable, but I know it's expensive clobber. So he's not a cheap barber. I love that. So the next question is, who do we think Rob's trying to appeal to? Celebrity, high net worth. I love that. Musicians, actors. People with cash. People with cash. Yeah. What sort of age dynamic? Age range. Younger. Great. Fantastic. So I'll just touch on the lighting again. So the idea was we kind of wanted to create a bit of a nightlife vibe. So you're exactly right. He's in South London and he's trying to appeal to Premier League footballers, musicians, rappers, all those kind of people that you've sort of touched on there in that younger, really cool, edgy demographic. Now, let's have a look at Joe. Let's contrast with Joe then. So what do we think Joe does? Sorry? Sporty. We've got fitness instructor. PT, cool, yeah, absolutely. What's giving us that? Muscle, so her physique, yeah, and her body expression, yeah. Yeah, sports watch, absolutely.
The environment, photo.
The environment, what's the environment tell us? So obviously we're
Healthy and
exactly. All the connotations that we get with greenery and that she's outdoors and that she probably operates outdoors as opposed to in the gym. Who do we think then Joe's target audience is? Women of a certain age, go on, go, give us a bit more detail. Lovely, okay, so we're talking menopausal women, great, that's fantastic. Good. Anything else anyone wants to add in there?
Everyone's frightened now.
Perfect, no. You're absolutely spot on. So, well, let me ask you a couple of questions then about her target audience. So we've kind of highlighted a bit of an age bracket there, that she's working with women as well. Are these women who like a gym environment or not?
No.
Okay, that's why we're outside. So we're looking for something.
There's plenty of experience of menopausal women in this room, so you can have
There you go. So she's appealing to people that perhaps don't want to go to the gym. They don't want to be in that environment. She's trying to make it warm, friendly. Let's come outside. Let's be in a park somewhere and it's approachable, okay? So what you've done with these two photos, you actually made all those decisions in a split second. It becomes a little bit question and answer or shouting bits out and you feed off each other when we're breaking it down in this sense. But subconsciously, like that, those decisions happened when you looked at those photos. You just hadn't quite processed what information you needed to verbalised because you don't have the question or the context of who's the target audience or who's this. It's exactly the same when a double-decker bus goes past with a billboard on the side. You've not really taken in that it was McDonald's or whatever, but if someone were to say, what do you think that's for? You'd only have to think 2 seconds. Well, there's a massive burger on there, and there was this and that, and there was lovely freshly cut vegetable to try and make it appear healthy. All those things, the colours, all those connotations that go with that. And you take this in an instant. So there is so much information that you can be putting into your photos to tell your target audience exactly what you want to say about you. I include this example of a white background headshot. And I've put personal branding, but it's more of it's a lifestyle photo. Very quickly, what do we think this lady does? Counselling, interior design, nice, yeah. Yeah, interesting. So she is a counsellor, but I can see why you would go for interior design as well. That's an answer that's come up a few times. Relationship counsellor. So we definitely get this environment that she's some sort of supportive role. What gives us that? So she's got a nice, friendly, warm smile. What was that, sir? Her demeanour, yeah, absolutely. And then tell me about the environment. What's the environment feel like? It's what, sorry? Relaxed environment, nice, yeah. We got some plants going on. It feels very homely, feels very cosy, very warm. So she is actually a counsellor. The idea of this photo was to take a photo of what it actually looks like to sit opposite her. How can we break down all the barriers that a potential customer of hers or client is going to face in terms of coming to picking up the phone or dropping an email to her to get in that room and work with her. So if we can make it as clear as what it's like to be with her, then let's do it.
What was the first guy, the guy in the suit?
Oh yeah, this is a guy actually, yeah. He's a geezer. Do you know him? No.
I won't buy anything from him.
You won't buy anything of him. So I use this as an example for a white background headshot because I think the personality, again, really comes through. So he is actually head of a massive construction firm down in London. And I only had like a minute or two with him in the room between his meetings and stuff. And when he came in, that's exactly what he was like. He was geezer, he was this, that. As soon as he walked in, he owned the room. It was crazy how it turned like that. But he was really bubbly, really smiley, making all his colleagues laugh and so on. So it was like, we really need to capture this. You know, wasn't right for him to wear a tie because he don't wear one usually. And we've got that kind of the pinstripes on the suit and the pattern and that. And his quirky glasses. It was important that we make sure we get all that personality in that one photo. So this is Nikita. So she specialises in Botox treatments and aesthetics. Nikita came to me saying, I need a friendly, trusty headshot because essentially people are paying me to put needles in their faces. And you can imagine that one's quite a hard one to attract your clients. How do you make sure, apart from showing you your work on Instagram or on social medias, whatever your contact points are with your audience, how can I make them trust me? A lot of these kind of services, you might go on their Instagrams and actually it's all their work, all their patients, all their clients. And actually, I want to know more about the person that's doing it before I go and pay any money with them or book in with them. So she really wanted that friendly, welcoming face. On the other side of things, she said, I also need something where people take me seriously because in this industry, there's a lot of malpractice. There's a lot of people not following the rules. And actually, not many people are standing up and actually sharing that on a public speaking level as to what needs to be done. So she wanted something that made it look more like kind of a professor, maybe a bit more corporate, for people to actually take her a bit more seriously with the content that she shares on that. So the first thing we need to work out is, what is it professionally we want to say? Where do we want to sit? Because you'll find people do things for different reasons. So we either want to elevate our status. That might be one reason that we book in with a photographer. We get some really nice, smart, professional photos of ourselves because at the moment, it might be a photo from a wedding, that's our LinkedIn picture. We might not share anything on LinkedIn because we think we haven't got any photos that we want to share or anything. We feel like we haven't got any reason for people to look at us. So we do it to elevate our profile. The other way is people might get professional photos or focus on their personal branding to actually downplay their status and appear more relatable. I've got a couple of examples here. So all these pictures for these next 4 examples, all I've done is put their name into Google Images and taken a cross-section of what's come up. So Arianna Huffington, the founder of the Huffington Post, and she now has a Thrive global business, so kind of in that health and well-being space now. Let's just summarise these pictures, what comes across, what feelings are we getting, what vibes? Quite aloof. Yeah, she's not really looking at the camera, is she? Like, there's no connection there, yeah? Authoritative, yeah? So kind of in the stance that she's got, she's like very elevated in her posture. Quite a bit of low angle going on as well, so we're photographing up to her to make her look a bit more powerful. Anything else?
Very groomed.
Very groomed, yeah. There's definitely a sort of precision element about what she's wearing and how she's wearing it, her hair. Okay, great. The other example that came up for her was this one. So this is more representing what she does now with her Thrive and helping inspire people. Yet all I'm seeing is silk pillows, expensive embroidery, headboard, you know, a very ornate sideboard and a fancy lamp there. So the reason she's a great example is that she's using her status. Do we think she's trying to appeal to a certain type of audience? Okay, and what kind of audience do we think that is? High end, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing that comes across from her, is there, of she's a status, but I aspire to that. She's definitely trying to appeal to those that are already in a certain space, of a certain status. Okay, so what about Elon? So I imagine we all know what Elon does. Let's just break down these photos. What do we think?
He thinks he's God in the first one.
He thinks he's God. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with you on that.
He's defiant.
Defiant, yeah, that's great.
Confrontational.
Yeah.
The second one, head to one side, implies a certain,
Am I bothered?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really... I find the head tilt really interesting because I use this in my sessions, but I use it because it actually makes things more friendly, usually. So if I were to ask majority of the people in this room to photograph really square on to me with the camera, it usually comes across too direct and slightly unnerving. So I ask them to do a little head tilt, which usually just breaks it up and it's a bit more friendly. But what do you notice? His chin is actually slightly up. So there's a head tilt, but there's a little bit of just slight dismissal because he's still playing that status. And what's interesting is when we look at what he's wearing, it's very simple. He's usually just wearing a t-shirt because he's got that kind of minimalist, tycoon thing going on. But there's definitely something quite obnoxious and status-related, arrogant going on there. And we've already touched on that defiance element. We know from what he puts out on social media and things like that, he's not afraid to share his opinion. He's not afraid to be breaking ground. But it plays into his personal brand. He is breaking ground with what he does, with his developments, where he wants to go with things. So it does work. All these examples are not saying anything's right or anything's wrong. It's about how can you accurately appeal to your audience. So Richard Branson, this is a great parallel to Elon because they're fighting very much to be the first in different places, in the same places even. What do we notice about Richard?
He's just more leaning forward. He's inviting almost.
But there's also...
So why is he more approachable?
He has a sense of wisdom because he's older, longer hair, a bit more... He's always been a bit deconstructed, doesn't he? But a bit more playful.
A bit more playful, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's be specific. What's given us everyday man?
Well, I'll tell you the one with the kind of the shirt.
So he's often got his open shirt, yeah. His hair's always just a bit all over. He don't really fix that. Sometimes the lines of breaking away from the camera and being sat slightly hunched as well, just makes us, it's a bit more authenticity coming through, which when we look at it, is he trying to elevate his status or appear more relatable? Absolutely, yeah. And then this is another one I came across, Jacinda Ardern. So she was the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Now, I can't imagine Theresa May or Rishi being photographed with a big smile like this, or in the middle one looks like it's the poster for some new BBC drama. I think it's fantastic. But, how human does she look? How relatable does she look? And you can imagine, actually, I don't know how her turn as Prime Minister was, but you can imagine that she was fighting for things that was close to a certain demographic, not necessarily just the top percentage of people. So I love that she comes across really relatable and always, usually with a smile, but even when that serious one, in what she's wearing, she looks like a kind of everyday dress that most people can appeal to.
Kate's sort of look.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And she would actually be a good example to sort of have in there, I guess. So define your personal brand. So think about, essentially, I kind of put personal brand down to being your reputation. Every touch point you have with someone, whether it be in your email signature, if you've got a picture in your email signature, anything you post online, if you are active on LinkedIn, if you appear on your company's website or your own website, if you're in your own business, think about all these areas. This is Rebecca. She's Lincoln, well, was Lincoln based, but now she's getting fantastic work all over the country. This is a lifestyle photo that we did actually for the Business Companion magazine when she put an article in there. At that point, she was very heavily based on well-being in the workplace, but her work's transitioned since she's broken into the construction industry, working with leaders in there. And what I love is the photo has kind of evolved with her, that she still uses it now. It's a really popular picture on her website if you look across the different pages, because even though her work has changed, what she needs to say about herself hasn't. So everything she sort of stands for, and the exact impression you would get if she were to walk in the room now would be very much this. So it's the best first impression that we can pull up behind the nosy Parker. He operates out of a van. He works with Lincoln City. He cuts most of the players' hair. He has a mixture of clientele. But what's important for him is that we actually showcase that, similar to Rob's example, he's different. He's got this he's got the greenery going on, because there's definitely a feel-good vibe about what he does. His business is called Good Life Barbers. The fact he operates from a van that he's transportable, he can pull up anywhere and work with anyone. Then once you define your personal brand, you're going to choose your setting. So what space do you want to immerse yourself in? So a couple of examples here. This lady, it was a year or two ago now, and her actual occupation has escaped me. But it was clear at that time that we wanted to take her out of the corporate scene. She didn't want to be seen there. She was starting a new line of work. We still wanted to feature her as a professional, but how can we change that environment for her? So using kind of the cinematic backgrounds of blurry shapes and colours in the background, we've put her in a space that a lot of it was about elevating her profile for all the accreditations she has and the public speaking work that she does. The other side was trying to make her appear relatable, because as a woman going into sales teams and leadership teams and trying to then dictate what they should be doing, she said that it was a very fine line to not come across as boss bitch, but actually I'm here, I'm assertive, but I can have a laugh with all of you blokes, that's not a problem. And then the other element was that sort of down to business of when decisions need to be made and they're difficult, I can certainly make them. So that all comes across in your posing and how you are engaging with the camera and therefore your audience. Because at the end of the day, when we look at a photo, we're looking because we want to connect with it. And that's why we do a lot of eye contact to camera, so that if you are that target audience, when you're scrolling, hopefully you just see this pop up and go, oh wow, yeah, I feel something about this. And then think about the different uses of your photo. Can we actually connect all the dots? So there's a question I get a lot is, how often should I update my photos? And for a lot of people, it's a lot of years that they've last updated their photos. Ideally, if you could change your photos and think of it as like an ad campaign for yourself, if you could do that every 6 months, that would be amazing. Now, I know that's an investment, that can be quite expensive to do. 12 months at least. You'd be amazed how much you've changed in 12 months, either physically or actually what you stand for, or where your work has evolved. If we think back to Rebecca, how she's in a completely different industry now. And connect the dots across your platform so that people know when they go from your website to LinkedIn, they found the right person. So we need the right photo because it's going to build trust and credibility for us. That headshot's going to elevate your profile, and you're in control of your story. Don't think I need to do this because it's what other people expect of me. Or if you're not getting the right inquiries, think about how can you be reaching the right people because of your photos. Have a look at your current headshot. What's working, what's not, what does it say? Ask a friend or a colleague and be honest and say, I need some honest feedback. Is this who I am? Now, this is a little example for those of you that are now thinking, God, yeah, it was a while since I last had a photo. This is me a year ago. So not too much has changed. 2 years. I don't know why. I rolled with that fringe for about 2 months. No, laugh, it's fine. I couldn't believe it. When I was scrolling through my photos, I was like, wow. 3 years ago, I got married that year and for some reason thought I'd grow all my hair out and have a long, floppy Prince Charming style. That's what I was going for. 4 years ago, COVID, innit? Who didn't grow their beard out, lads, to see how long it would go in COVID? So this is my visual example. Go back through your photos and go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And I'm not about your professional ones you use, I'm on about your personal individual photos and see how different you look. Then look at your professional ones and go, am I holding on for these too long? Okay? So please do connect with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be tagging photos and stuff of the event throughout the day as I post them, so you should be able to find me quite easily. And yeah, it would be great to hear from you.